This is John Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, I'm going to review a juicer I never reviewed before. It's been out for a little bit. This is the Omega time-saving cold press batch juicer. Many of you guys may have seen different infomercials because shopping channels will sell this machine, and it's on Omega's website as well as other big box stores. And in this episode, you're going to get a juicer's expert opinion and professional review about this machine. To be honest with you, in the olden days, because I started my business over 25 years ago now, I've been juicing now myself for 31 years, and I have more videos reviewing all the different major brand juicers online than anybody else in the world. But to be honest with you, I started selling Omega juicers when I started my company many years ago with the Omega original 1000 model, the original 9000 model, the 4000 model, right? These are all centrifugal ejection styles machines which were made in the United States. Then later on, Omega started working with Hurom, who started making juicers for Omega that Omega would sell under their brand name, such as the ever popular Omega 8006 original made in South Korea, the original Omega NC 900, the original VRT 330, VRT 350, VSJ 843, as well as their high-end Omega batch juicer. That being said, Omega has shifted their production to China. On many models, this has been uneventful. On some models, it has had a lot of issues. And nowadays, Omega, to me, it seems like they're focusing more on the low-end juicers. I mean, they have an established brand name as the major brand juicing company in America when it was founded like 20 years ago, and since new ownership took over also many years ago, I saw the direction change and also the customer service and support at Omega unfortunately go downhill, and I regularly get inquiries myself if I carry Omega parts because people cannot get parts of their Omega juicer due to inventory shortages and outages. So, I do want you guys to be aware of my history with Omega and my personal opinions on where it is now. So with that, let's go ahead and review the Omega time-saving cold press batch juicer. And the only way we're going to know if this juicer is any good, because so many people will make videos just showing that juicer and their experience, sharing their experience, when they've only ever used 1, 2, or 3 juicers. Meanwhile, I've used basically all the major brand juicers. I've used a lot of juicers made in China, purchased from Amazon over the years. Links down below some of the videos I've made in the past reviewing them. The only way to know if a juicer is good if you compare it to another juicer to see if it's better or worse. And today, I'm not pulling out any stops. I'm going to compare it to the juicer that is the best on the market at this time, in my personal opinion, being the #1 world's juicer expert. This is the Hurom H70 juicer. As I said, Hurom used to make most Omega juicers back in the day. These days, I think only a few models are made by Hurom, sold by Omega, and the rest are made in China. That being said, Hurom sells their own branded juicers, and unfortunately, Hurom has not done a good job with marketing in the United States. So most people still, unfortunately, don't even know who they are. They've been in business for 50 years now over in South Korea, and they literally invented the first vertical auger juicer like 21 years ago now. And ever since then, they've been improving it, and this is their latest and greatest design that not only features a hopper, but also features an easy clean, or as Omega would call it, time-saving juicer screen, so that there's no scrubbing. And that is really the innovation actually on both these machines. And this is where I personally believe the juicer market is going for home juicers. Is the whole thing is making it easy for consumers to juice and drink more fruits and vegetables, especially those leafy greens that are so healthy for us. And of course, one of the first innovations was the hopper that made it so that you didn't have to push produce items into the juicer one by one, that I've been doing for over 30 years now. And the second innovation that is only on few machines at this point, but I believe will take over the market, is the Easy Clean system, where you can throw away the cleaning brush, right? Because there's no scrubbing required. You literally just rinse off the parts. the parts rinse clean. There's no stainless steel screen with all these little tiny pinholes that can get clogged up with pulp, and which will lessen your yield over time when they get plugged up, like I've seen on other people's juicers, because they're not so good at cleaning the machine. That's where these machines come in. So I'm so glad Omega is moving in the direction towards catching up with the big boys that make the best models on the market. So with that, let's go ahead and get in to the comparison. So the first thing I want to say is that, when you buy a juicer, you have to ask yourself, are you just going to juice for now and then for a little while because it's a fad, or do you want to be someone like me that is juice literally consistency for the last 31 years? If you're one of my viewers that have been juicing for 10, 5, 6, 7 or more years, post your comments down below and let other people know what difference you have felt, you have gained by juicing. Literally what I learned from the juice man is that it's the juice of the fiber that feeds you. It's all these vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals in the fruits and vegetables that are locked within cell walls, that when you put it through the juicer, it breaks open those cell walls. The nutrients are released into the juice, and now you can drink the juice and get a flood of nutrients without it taking any kind of vitamin supplements. We're getting our nutrition from food, which is where our nutrition should come from. And unfortunately, due to food processing, ultra processed food, fast food these days, they literally process all the nutrition out of the food. And this is why I believe so many people are fat, sick, and nearly dead in this day and age. We need to get nutrition into us, and to me, juicing is the #1 way to do that. Most people don't chew their vegetables enough to get all the nutrients out. It goes through them whole. You maybe eat a salad and you'll see pieces come out the other side. And that's where the juicer fits in, because the juicer does a pre-digestion for you. Jay Cordich, once again, the juice man, told me that if you put the produce in, the juicer is nothing more or less than like our digestive system. Out one end, and one end comes out of us, comes a liquid here, and the other end comes a solid. And we work the same way. And when we drink the liquid, literally the liquid is more quickly absorbed into our bloodstream to get higher levels of things like beta carotene, as proven by published studies, into your bloodstream faster than eating raw carrots alone, where you actually get a very low amount of beta carotene. I know what some of you guys are thinking. Some of you guys are thinking, John, I could get beta carotene by cooking my carrots and eat them. That's why you shouldn't eat raw carrots. You should always cook them. Well, I would say the counterpoint is I want you guys to juice them raw and not heat process your carrots, because besides the beta carotene, there are other heat sensitive nutrients in carrot juice, such as enzymes and farcarinol, which actually has some anti-cancer benefits. And you guys could look up the Gerson therapy if you guys want. So nonetheless, there's a big benefit for juicing. And do you want to make juicing like a fad diet just to lose a little bit of weight right now? Or do you want to make juicing a lifestyle so that you can continue to stay, healthy, young, have the energy to keep up with your kids and live disease-free in your life? And only you could make that decision. And that's why I've been juicing now for the last 31 years, and I feel it makes a huge difference in how I feel, my energy levels. And just comparing myself to my brother who's on a standard American diet, who's overweight and not so healthy and gets aches and pains, right? This is what juicing can do, in my personal opinion. So I strongly encourage you guys to make juicing a habit, not just a fad. And when you have a juicer such as one of these machines that have the hopper and makes it easier for you to clean in under 60 seconds, you're going to juice a lot more. But the one thing that you'll need besides those two things is a long warranty. And that's where the Omega time-saving cold press batch juicer falls very short. Unfortunately, this only has a 1-year warranty. Omega was one of the first companies to offer a 15-year warranty in the juicing industry, but those machines were made in South Korea by Hurom, right? They're new Chinese machines for the most part. The low-end ones only have 1-year warranty. After 1 year, so when it breaks, parts may no longer be available, and you'll have to basically buy a new machine to replace the old one that you spent a lot of money on. So that's why if you guys want to make juicing a lifestyle to get the benefits over the course of your life for not only you, your husband, your wife, your kids, your family members, right? Then invest in something with a full 15-year warranty, which is your assurance that you're going to be juicing for the next 15 years without any problem, in a high quality, best machine that I've found to date at this time the video is being produced. So yeah, that's very important to me. You want to consider the warranty, not just how the juicer performs. That being said, speaking about juicer performance, let's go ahead and take each of these machines apart to compare them side by side so you can see how they are different, but also how they are similar. So first up, we're going to go ahead and take the Hurom H70 apart. We'll take the whole top set off. Comes off nice and easy. Next up, we're going to go ahead and take the top set off on the Omega time-saving cold press batch juicer. And when we try to lift this up, it doesn't come up because basically the mating surface to the auger is stuck in there. So we got to kind of turn this to get this off. And let's see if we can wiggle this up now. Oh, and then we could wiggle that up and get it off. We can put this back on, all right? So we look at the actual juicing parts, right? The juicing parts look fairly similar. The hoppers are maybe a similar size, and the height is very similar as well. The one thing I want you to notice is that on the Omega, the juice comes out on one side, and the pulp comes out on the exact opposite side. So that's going to take a lot more counter space width on your counter. And then on the Hurom, it has a much better configuration, in my opinion, where the pulp comes out on one side and then the juice comes out in the front. So that takes a lot less of a counter space or footprint width-wise on your counter. So I do like that a lot. Next up, let's go ahead and take apart these machines. So first up, we're going to take apart the hopper on the Omega, and we will take off the hopper on the H70. So if we look at these hoppers, they're actually fairly similar. On the H70, to open it up, you basically press this little trigger button right here. You press this up, and it pops up. It opens completely, almost all the way. And on the Omega, it's not a trigger button, but you have to basically press this little button here and then lift up yourself at the same time. The lid does not go back all the way. It stays up partial. This can hinder you from pushing or dropping produce into the machine. So we just look inside this hopper. Basically, it's just a cylinder with no bottom. Meanwhile, on the Hurom hopper, there is a bottom on it and a special processing blade. And this is where the technology arises, because Hurom has a patent on this technology. They have sued other companies that are trying to knock it off. They were the originators of this style hopper. And they've done the best job, in my opinion, based on the juicers I've tested, to basically pre-cut and feed in produce into the juicer at a slow and moderate rate so that you get the highest level of extraction. So you can see on the bottom here we have a processing blade. This processing blade basically spins around, and as it's spinning around, it basically pre-cuts to some extent and will feed in the produce into the machine, right? This is a specialized part of the machine that can make you or break you, right? If a machine doesn't have a specialized hopper like this and just feeds everything into the juicer, that means all the produce just sitting in there and can drop in at any time at an unmoderated speed. May work better, may work worse, may end up with clogging and jamming issues because it's not being slowed down, by this little cutout. And I want to look at this cutout here. This cutout is not just a hole. A lot of inexpensive hopper style juicers just have a hole in there, and this has a very unique shape to it. If you look at it, Hurom has gone through many revisions to refine the shape to get it exactly right so that this hopper will completely empty and feed in the produce at the correct and moderate rate to get the highest level of extraction. This Hurom H70 is Hurom's latest machine of the Easy Clean design series at this time, and is the best performing based on me testing all the other Easy Clean models. So yeah, that's how these are significantly different. The other thing I'll say is that this lid, the top, is a lot more heavy duty. The lid on the Omega is a lot cheaper plastic, and dare I even say this is I don't know what kind of plastic it is, so I'm not going to make any references, but I can say that the Hurom is advertised as BPA free. This is definitely made out of the Eastman Triton or other BPA free copolymer, maybe the EcoZen. And this, I don't know. I mean, it definitely doesn't sound like the EcoZen or the Eastman Triton. Nonetheless, there also is a warning sticker that comes on this juicer that I have to read out to you guys, because this really shocked me and surprised me that Omega would even put a sticker like this on the machine. It simply says, Please clean and wash this part after each batch, which, you know, I would say, okay, that's a really important thing to do, is clean your juicer right after you're done juicing. If you let the juicer pulp or juice dry inside the machine, that may mean your juicer parts may get stuck together and you won't be able to take them apart later. And then it says, do not use your cold press juicer as a citrus juicer or to juice large amounts of citrus fruits. Please peel the lemon before juicing. Remove sticker before use. All right. So yeah, they basically don't want you to juice citrus in this machine or any large amount, and furthermore, they want you to peel the lemons before juicing. I've never had to do that in the Hurom H70 juicer myself, and you know that really makes me believe that this machine is using some inferior quality plastics. Maybe the citric acid potentially could break down some of the plastics, maybe, or maybe due to the way the machine is designed, it's not designed to juice all different kinds of fruits and vegetables. It has an extreme problem with citrus, where citrus can get jammed, clogged, and then, you know, cause breakage in the juicer. So, I mean, I don't know any other reason why they would tell you guys that. So that's a very big caution. So yeah, that's the difference between the hoppers. Next up, let's go ahead and see how these machines work to juice. I guess first up, we'll start with the Omega time-saving cold press batch juicer. On the Omega, you basically have two parts. You have an auger and you have a juicing screen that has, you know, no holes. So I think first we need to pull out the juicing screen. At first, if you look at this juicing screen, it looks like it's solid, like this is called a blank plate, but technically it is not. This is a revolutionary design right here, guys. This is what I like most about this machine, and hopefully it was implemented well. Basically, this screen, if you just press this, it opens up. So now you could see, now you could get in here and clean easily. And the other thing is when you push this back, the spacing in between, you know, where these come apart are the lines. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines now where the juice can come out of the machine. So that's kind of cool. I really love that a lot. At first I looked at this like, how is that going to juice? And then I'm like, oh, this comes apart. That's innovative, guys. I really am for innovation in juicers. Another thing I don't like about this part is that they have a stainless steel liner on the bottom of this plastic that is basically pressed on and into place. So, you know, that I don't like, because what this tells me is that, you know, there can be spaces in between the stainless steel and the plastic. And then that's basically a harborage point for bacteria, you know, juice, pulp. In addition, if things should get back there, it could basically expand and then make the part out of round. Definitely not the best design, in my opinion, the way they did that, and I'm not exactly sure why they did that. It may be partly due to design, and when it's you know, grinding, they don't want to grind plastic on plastic, for example, because the tolerances aren't that good. I'm not exactly sure. And then how this works is basically you have one auger, and this auger is very light. There are reports online where this auger can crack. So that would mean to me that this auger is not the proper plastic material. It should be made out of the GE Ultim. This machine is made in China once again, and a low-cost machine. This may be made out of some other inferior quality plastic. It's also a very thin auger. So how this works, basically the auger goes in, and then basically the auger spinning around, it basically presses and squeezes out. And as it is, the juice falls out the little cracks. In addition, there's another opportunity as the pulp kind of comes down and then has to make a right angle turn down here, which means this machine is very good at grinding. The juice can also come out as well. So yeah, overall this looks pretty good. And then the other thing to let you guys know, basically this is how it works. So there is no processing blade in the hopper. You just get the top of the auger that's running around that acts as a processing blade. So you're not getting any pre-cutting of the produce before it goes in. So this, once again, may mean that some things may get stuck, clogged, or jammed in this hopper because it's basically the auger just spinning around. If the auger doesn't chop it up into a small enough piece, then it's not going to go in, and then it can potentially clog or jam. Especially things like celery strings may be problematic due to the design on this machine. Of course, it also depends on how much you pre-cut the celery. All right, so that's how this machine works without a juicing screen with stainless steel holes. Next up, let's go ahead and share with you guys how the Hurom works. So the Hurom, you know, you have two pieces here. You have a screenless screen, you have the auger, and on the Hurom, you basically just have the auger, right? This is the latest design, guys. And they just have the bowl, right? How this one works, instead of like, you know, this screen pops out to have the holes right there, right? Hurom's done even something more ingenious. Their auger basically comes apart, right? How this works is that basically it's a two-piece auger. So when you take the auger apart, you put it back together. Between the different auger pieces, there's lines, and there's 16 of these total. So that means there's basically 2 on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way around. That means there's 32 basically lines in the auger that allow juice to not flow out, but to funnel in to the bottom, where then it comes out of the juice spout on the Hurom. So this one has 4 opportunities for juice to come out, plus the 5th one on the bottom. This one has a lot more area for juice to come out. This means more than likely you're going to get a higher yield on this machine. In addition, to me it looks like the tolerances on these lines are a lot finer, which means you're going to have less pulp in the juice as well, compared to this where the holes are a little bit larger. And of course the other thing is that this auger is a lot more heavy than this auger here. I mean, if we're looking at the run, I always like to look at the run. That's like how long is the auger, because how much grinding can be done and how small can the produce get. And basically the auger on the Hurom has a little bit longer run. I would say the run on the Omega is maybe 80% of the run on the Hurom. So once again, the better a juicer can grind up the produce, the more juice is exposed that then can come out and then get into your glass, all right? And then that's how both these machines work. So, cleaning the H70 is going to be easy. I've done this many times. It takes me about a minute. You can see me clean it in the original unboxing video. Link down below to that. And then finally, you have the juicing bowls on both machines. The juicing bowl on the Omega will probably be a little bit more clean when you're done juicing, because all the pulp will stay inside the filter, except for pulp that comes out of the filter into the bowl. This is a very thin and light bowl here. Definitely, it's a BPA-free material. Once again, it is interesting to me that they basically, once again, have a stainless steel piece lined on the bottom of this juicing bowl that basically the auger sits on top of and spins around, so you don't get plastic on plastic contact, which is interesting. That may cause, two different materials, coming together may cause some problems later on, but I don't really know because this is the first time I'm using it. And then also too, you have a spout cap, which seems to be very, I would say, cheapish. The plastic very thin. Hopefully it's functional. And then you have a unique pulp flap. So on this pulp flap, basically you lift this up and then basically just comes all the way back. So this is kind of an innovative design feature where it comes all the way back. Now it will be a bit more difficult to kind of get in here and clean because this does not completely open up. You've got to kind of spray water in here and then kind of get it underneath this thing to get back here to clean it, or access it from this side where there's a little hole. Meanwhile, on the Hurom H70, while the bowl is a little bit heavier, multi-layered, kind of easier to get in there. Basically on the where the pulp comes out, you have this little lever, so this lever opens up, and now you can see you could easily get in there where the little hole is in the little pulp flap. Really simple and easy compared to this machine. And this little lever just doesn't really come out. It just kind of moves up out of the way a little bit. And then you can just basically flap that back. And then of course on the Hurom H70, it does have a pulp flap. This is also a separate piece that you can take off. So you can kind of get in there and clean in there easily. This also acts as a gas gauge. So you can keep the spout cap closed, and as this fills up, you can see how full you are, and when you get to the top, you can open it up. In general, I recommend keeping the spout cap open when juicing. You're going to get a little bit higher yield, although some items may foam more. So if you're juicing something like cabbage, for example, that I was juicing the other day, or just straight greens, right? Then you want to keep this closed until it fills up, and then open it up, and you'll have a little bit less foam in your juice, all right? So yeah, that's how these machines are designed. So this one will have 1, 2, 3 parts to clean, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to clean over on the Omega. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to clean. I guess the other thing I want to go over as I have these disassembled real quick are the motor bodies. The motor body in the Hurom is actually quite heavy, right? This is a heavy-duty machine, heavy-duty motor that is designed to last 15 years. I still have customers that I sold Hurom made juicers like 20 years ago, and they're saying, John, my juicer you sold me 20 years ago, this is still working, right? Because the motors are that good. I've used Hurom juicers with their motors for many years, and I can't think of any time I've had actually a motor failure. I have other safety switches go out, but never a motor failure. They are quite durable. Meanwhile, over on the Omega, this is a very light and inexpensive machine. That's probably why they have a 1-year warranty on it, while these are both rated at 50 watts. You know, this is a much more torquey and powerful motor, in my personal opinion, than they can put in a machine that is significantly lighter. So I did talk about it earlier. I want to show you guys this motor shaft here. This motor shaft just has a standard like hex cutout, which is not super special. Meanwhile, on the Hurom, it's designed properly with a special cutout. It's not only hex, but then it's indented in, so things can come up and come off easier. This can make disassembly very difficult on this machine if, say, the parts heat up and expand, and then they basically kind of get stuck together in there. So, you know, that's kind of an older design, and of course, Hurom has the latest and greatest design so that you have the least amount of problems when juicing. They've thought of it all. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and assemble both machines. First, we will assemble the Hurom H70. First, we're just going to go ahead and put the juicing bowl on. Next up, we're going to take the one-piece auger, drop it in there. Super simple, super easy. Next up, we're going to go ahead and take the hopper and line up the unlock with the little line above the spout. And then they line up, and then you just turn that to the lock position. And when you do, the machine should be all locked in and ready to go. If you assembled it properly, the machine will turn on. All right. Next up, let's go ahead and assemble the Omega. First up, we're going to take the juicing bowl, drop that on the machine. Next up, very important, we need to put the auger in first. We need to put the auger in and spin it down and make sure it fully seats down in there. All right, next up is very important, so pay attention to this. On the juicing screen, there's a little arrow on one of these tabs. The tabs are right here and right here on opposite sides, okay? The tab that has the arrow must be facing the side where the pulp comes out. So then you're just going to basically put it down where the pulp comes out, put it straight down, and make sure it locks into the tab that's in the juicing bowl. This is very important, or you will not be able to assemble the juicer properly. Next up, you're going to go ahead and take your hopper. There's a little arrow on this hopper. You're going to line up the arrow with the unlock, which is near over the where the juice comes out. Drop this in there and then turn it into the lock position. You got to make sure this little arrow is lined up with the padlock, and then you shut the lid. Once you shut the lid, then you should be able to turn the machine on. If you assembled it correctly, it should come on. All right, there we go. And now if you open this up, the machine will shut off. I've seen some review videos where the machine is assembled properly and it doesn't come on, and then you might want to just try pressing on the back here, because then you might have a safety switch that is not properly adjusted, which in my opinion would be defective. So press it on the back to see if it comes on. So then this one should come on if you assemble it properly. Now, because we have these both assembled properly and running, next up, let's go ahead and do a sound test to see which one of these machines is louder. All right, so I have my handy decibel meter. Let's go ahead and turn on the Omega and see how loud it is. So this one's running at about 69 to 70 decibels, on average peaked out at like 71. Next up, let's go ahead and check the Hurom H70. And by the way, this one runs at 55 RPM. This one runs at 60 RPM, or revolutions per minute. Alright guys, so this one's running a little bit more quiet at 67 to 68 decibels. To me, this is a much more, calming sound. It's like a, just a strong, silent type motor. Whereas this one has like a kind of a inexpensive kind of, there's some kind of creaking noises coming on from the juicing parts. All right. So yeah, so that being said, both these machines are easy clean. I like that a lot. The build quality on this is maybe not as good as I would like. But of course, this is a very inexpensive machine. And of course, the one to beat is the Hurom H70. I guess the next step in this episode is let's find out if the Omega can beat the Hurom when we juice even amounts of carrots in both machines. Alright guys, so now we're going to go ahead and do a weigh-in to make sure we have a fair fight. We got organic carrots here. I love to purchase those at Sam's Club for the best price, about 68 cents a pound. And we got some cut up organic carrots about 1 inch, a little bit longer. On this side, 1123.1, and on this side, 1123.1. So we have a fair fight. Let's get juicing. All right, guys, so we're going to start juicing. I'm going to go ahead and time how long it takes to juice this amount of carrots in each juicer. I do want to let you guys know of the duty cycle time. So in the Omega instruction manual, it says do not run the machine more than 10 minutes continuous. So this is definitely a short amount of time to make a little juice. So I don't know how they could call that a batch juicer that's only going to run 10 minutes, because in a 10-minute cycle, you can't make a lot of juice. If you ran it longer than 10 minutes, then you can risk, burning out the motor. Also, of course, voiding your warranty. Meanwhile, over on the Hurom H70, they have a recommended usage time of 30 minutes, which is 3 times longer than the Omega. This is for serious batch juicers. That being said, I could personally tell you guys I've used the Hurom H70 on many occasions for an hour or even a bit more without any issue. It's never failed me, never stopped or broken down on me. So this is a much more heavy-duty, robust motor in my opinion. So what we're going to do is basically load up both machines with as many carrots as we could fit. I'm going to turn on the stopwatch to see how long it actually takes to juice at each machine, and then I'm going to feed in any additional carrots that didn't fit on the initial fill. So first up, let's go ahead and fill up the Omega. All right, dumping the carrots right in. All right, we couldn't quite fit them all. And of course, there's a max fill line. So I'm maybe a little bit above the max fill line, but I feel I'm good. Next up, let's go ahead and load up the Hurom. And when we open the Hurom up, the lid goes basically suicide on you. So it's a lot easier to fill up the Hurom H70 hopper than the Omega. So I do like this a lot. And let's just go ahead and dump all the carrots into the Hurom. Alright, so we filled up the Hurom. Let's go ahead and shut the lid once again. I'm above the max fill line. Don't do that at home. I've never had a problem personally filling it past the fill line. But if you do, the manufacturer may say you fill it past the fill line, that could cause problems. Alright, so now that we're all filled, we're going to go ahead and get juicing. So first up, we're going to go ahead and hit start. And we're going to go ahead and turn each machine on at the same time. 1, 2, 3, go! Alright, they are off to the races, starting to juice. Oh, and check it out. Because we put it past the fill line, the Omega topped up, so I'm going to hold it down. Maybe that's why not to fill it past the max fill line, because the clamp, the latch is not that tight on here. And so hopefully we'll be good. Oh, and that's why you shouldn't fill the Hurom either, because it also popped the top off because of these hard carrots. So let's go ahead and hold them both down because I filled it past the max fill line. As you guys can see, the Hurom is off to the races. Juice is trickling out a lot faster than the Omega model, all right? And of course, we got Pulp coming out on both machines. Let's go ahead and let this continue to juice while I watch off from the side. Alright guys, so you can see we're pretty much at the a little bit over the 4.5 minute mark, maybe 4:40, and I can officially say the Hurom H70 has completely done juicing. The pulp stopped and the juice is barely dripping out. Let's go ahead and turn it off. One of the things I like to do is basically hit reverse for a second and then hit forward again to make sure we can get any final bits of juice out. That being said, the Omega time-saving cold press batch juicer is still juicing. You guys can see there's a lot of pulp being shoved out of that screen into where the juice comes out, and the pulp just basically, if it's lucky enough, it'll come out or just be held back in there. And you can see the amount of juice we made and the amount of pulp that the machine is still making. So it's just about done. As the machine finishes up, you'll hear the tone of the motor change a little bit because it's no longer processing any more produce. Basically, the pulp stops ejecting and the juice is barely dribbling out. So I'll do the same technique of basically turning it off, pressing the reverse to get it to go reverse, and then we'll press it forward again to see if we can get any final last bits of juice out of the Omega. Alright, I think there we have it. So both juices are done. This one took about 6 minutes. So it took about over a minute longer to juice the same amount of produce as the Hurom H70. Next up, let's go ahead and close both spout caps. And next up, let's go ahead and bring these juices front and center to see how much yield we got, but more importantly, how much pulp was put into the juice. So first up, we're gonna go ahead and shake these pulp patties down to make sure we get all the juice out. All the juice is out of there. Let's go ahead and shake the Hurom pulp down. All right, got all the pulp out. Next up, let's go ahead and weigh each pulp to see how much pulp was put into the juice. All right, so on the Omega side, we got actually very little pulp in the juice. Looks like we got a total of 11.9 grams of pulp. Not a lot at all, guys. Although a lot more came through the screen that actually didn't make in the juice. So maybe if we did a lot more quantity, then more pulp would come through, because as the pulp comes down, it comes into the bottom of the gutter and then basically falls into the juice. Meanwhile, the Hurom is not shy about pulp. You guys can see there's a fair bit of pulp. Let's go ahead and zero that back out. And let's go ahead and see how much Hurom pulp was put in the juice. And as you guys can see, it was 71 grams. This is a fair bit of pulp in the Hurom H70. So, you know, these days, I feel added pulp in the juice is a health benefit. It's not a health hindrance. We're getting mostly the juice out. We're breaking down the fibers into small little particle sizes. There's a lot of nutrition still attached to the pulp, and should you drink it, you're not only get some of the insoluble fiber, but you're actually going to get further nutrition in the pulp. The only reason why you wouldn't want to drink the pulp, in my opinion, is if it's a texture thing and you just hate the texture of it, because for health-wise, based on the scientific published studies, drinking pulp or a cloudy juice is a lot healthier than drinking a cleaner juice. So in this case, the Hurom, I would say, makes a little healthier juice, although this one makes a more pulp-free juice. That being said, the Omega does include a sieve if you do want to remove the pulp as it comes out of the machine. That's something I believe Hurom should include with their machines. But of course, you can just get a standard kitchen sieve, even at your local Dollar Tree. I think they're $1.50 these days to take out that pulp if you don't want it. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and see how much juice each of these machines made. All right, guys, let's go ahead and compare the juices. And if you guys could see instantly, this was definitely no contest. The Omega made less. How much less? Let's go ahead and do a close-up to check it out. All right, guys, let's go ahead and do close-up on the juices. Over on the Omega side, you guys could pretty much see that we got about under 500, over 400. It looks like 435 milliliters of juice. Meanwhile, if we go over to the Hurom, right, the latest and greatest, wow, look at that. We have around 100 milliliters more of juice. We're pretty much straight up at the 525 milliliter mark. So that is literally 90 milliliters more juice, or approximately 20% more juice by the Hurom H70. All right, so you guys just saw the Hurom H70, right? The one to beat was not beaten by the Omega time-saving batch juicer. It actually didn't even save you time, because it actually took over a minute longer to juice the same amount of produce. That being said, I expect cleaning to be about the same amount of time on both machines. And of course, the Omega did put less pulp in the juice in this instance, all right? Next up, let's go ahead and compare the pulp that came out of both machines. First up, over on the Hurom, you can see we got the pulp dropped on, and then we got the pulp out of the Omega. This is the Omega, and if we pull this up, you guys can see you know, which one looks drier to you. I mean, to me, the Hurom is more compressed down, and it looks a lot drier. If I squeeze it, I could barely squeeze any juice out. And on the Omega, I could squeeze this stuff, and there's a lot more juice coming out of it. It was just simply not as efficient as the Hurom H70 was. All right, next up, let's go ahead and taste test the juices. First up, we're going to taste the Omega juice. That's a good tasting juice. All right, next up, let's go ahead and taste the Hurom juice. I mean, they taste so close, I can't say one tastes better than the other. They're both basically low RPM juices. You know, both juicers did a great job. I mean, the main difference was how effective the juicer was at extracting juice, and in this case, the Hurom H70 was much more effective juicing the same amount of carrots than the Omega. But then again, you shouldn't be surprised because you guys get what you pay for. All right, guys, so last part of this episode, I want to show you guys what you will need to clean when you're done, and this is the part that I'm looking forward to with both these machines that unfortunately with some juicers I do not look forward to any longer because I have to literally sit there and scrub a screen clean. Both these machines I literally just spray it down with my sprayer and it's clean and I'm good to go. So first up, we'll take the Hurom H70 parts off the top, and let's go ahead and take off the Omega. If we try to pull the Omega off the top, it's literally stuck down. Once again, it's because of the design of the motor shaft and the coupler in the auger. Oh, there we go, we finally got it up. Oh, and this is interesting, guys. We have a lot of leakage down here on the juicer of juice, which actually is not good because I see drips going down the motor shaft. And if you guys look back down in here, you guys can see there's like juice coming out. This is definitely not good. This will cause premature failure of your juicer. I am surprised that Omega would let a juicer like this, you know, come out to the public that actually doesn't have good seals and can leak. All right, nonetheless, let's go ahead and take this apart and show you guys what we got. So over on the Omega, you guys can see what is left in the chamber. We have residue around the chamber because once again, there's no true processing blade. It's basically the auger that's spinning around. And if we lift off the Hurom, right, this is why I love the Hurom, guys. There's method to my madness. I test all these machines. Look at how empty that is. You could barely see any bits of carrots in there. Meanwhile, in the Omega, there's lots of bits of carrots still left. You know, in my testing, the Hurom H70 hopper is the best hopper for getting it empty and actually getting all the produce in the machine, getting it juiced and not stuck to the sides of the hopper, right? You guys want the best, buy the best. If you guys want cheap, you could buy cheap. Of course, you know, your performance will vary depending on how much money you spend and if you listen to my recommendations or not. Next up, let's go ahead and take a look at the juicer part. So once again, on the Hurom H70, the only part of the juicing apparatus you will need to clean is the auger. When I pull the auger out, as you guys can see, we have a little bit of pulp on the bottom of the auger here, but on most of it, it's pretty much clean. Meanwhile, over on the Omega, we have to first pull out the screenless screen design. You guys can see it. This is just basically clogged up with pulp. Now, this will rinse off very easily, but this is a lot of wasted juice that is still sitting here because it wasn't wrung out. I literally just pressed out pulp through the cracks and not the juice. And of course inside, actually on the top mostly, we have still a lot of juice pulp because once again, this does not have a true processing blade. And of course the next step is when we pull out the auger, there is a fair bit of pulp on the auger as well. And I want you guys to notice on the auger it was black and now we have this kind of like a turquoise sheen on it. This is completely normal. The pigments, the carotenoid pigments of the carrots get into the auger, the black pigments, and it sticks on, and then it looks to us like it's turquoise. What you need to do is put some, soap on a dish brush and then brush that off. You guys can see on the Hurom, we're not really even getting any of that because this auger, I've learned, stays fairly clean. Next up, this is a huge problem. Look at this. In the Omega, there's lots of pulp in the bottom. So much pulp back up that actually was coming off onto the motor shaft. And yeah, this is definitely not a good thing and will make cleaning a little bit more difficult. Of course, also too, in this pulp, it is actually quite wet. And there's still a lot of juice in here. So I was to put this through the sieve and strain it out. There'll be a fair amount of juice in here. Once again, this machine was just not as effective extracting the juice out of all the carrots like the Hurom. All right, guys, so that's pretty much the end of this juice off comparison. I want to share with you guys my summary of this episode, but first I want to show you guys actually a special thing about the Omega. You know, I have been reading some of the reviews online, and some of the reviews online say this machine stops working after a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. And probably the number one reason why it stops is the safety interlock switch. So I did discuss this earlier. Press on the back or press on the top to make sure if it's fully assembled and not coming on that it's not your safety interlock switch. The other thing that you got on the Omega, which is nice, on the bottom, there's a little white button underneath there that's a reset button. So if that pops out, then the machine won't work, and you can basically try to press that back in to see if your machine is working again before you call Omega for warranty service. And once again, this machine only has a short 1-year warranty. So I guess at the end of this episode, I have to declare a winner of this juice off comparison. And clearly to me, the winner of this juice off comparison was the Hurom H70. Not only did it make 20% more juice, it actually did it in 1 less minute. Of course, on the flip side, it did put 7 times more pulp into the juice than the Omega. But on the flip side, it is going to be easier to clean with less pulp residue amongst all the juicing parts. Of course, the Omega was a solid performer, unlike the previous Omega, ultimate performance batch juicer I tested that actually broke in the episode. Link down below to that. This machine worked well during the whole episode. We didn't go over the 10-minute juicing time, luckily enough, although it did make a lot less juice than I would have expected an Omega juicer to make. Of course, I also don't like the 1-year warranty, and I'm not the biggest fan of the build quality. So if you want to take a chance on me or take a chance on the Omega, you could surely do that. But what I would encourage you guys to do is to save your pennies and buy a machine that will last. Not only will you have a higher resale value, but also you have a machine that is guaranteed for the next 15 years to change you and your family's health outcome by losing weight, having more energy, being healthier, staying more disease-free, because now you're concentrating the phytonutrients from the plants and making it in a more easy to digest and assimilate form by the juices. I encourage you guys to basically drink a glass of juice every day. These machines make it super simple to do that, because literally you could load it up, shut the lid, turn it on, walk away, come back, you got your juice to drink, you got to spray it off to clean about 1 minute, then you're off out the door to work instead of drinking coffee, a soda, or any other kind of beverage that is not as healthy as juice. And I can't think of too many beverages that are actually healthier than vegetable juices. If you guys want to buy the Hurom H70 at the lowest price, right now it's $100 off until February 1st. Make sure you guys use the coupon code MORE at Hurom.com. That coupon code will save you guys the most money. At present time, it's $100 off, but after this promotion expires, it'll be 10% off. So you guys could get the Hurom H70, my favorite juicer that performs the best out of all the easy clean machines I've tested to date. Now, when you guys use that coupon code, not only will you save the most money, but also Hurom will show me a small commission so I can continue to buy juicers to test for you guys, to show you guys the honest truth instead of companies that just want to market and sell you guys the latest and greatest product on their, shopping channel or whatnot. I encourage you guys to watch all my other videos about juicers so that you could find the latest and greatest machines, because I put out videos every single week with all the new updates, all the latest juicer reviews, and sharing my juicing knowledge with you so you guys can be healthier by eating and extracting more nutrition out of your fruits and vegetables. So I want to thank you guys who will use my coupon code or have used it in the past. It allows me to continue to buy my produce, pay my amazing video editor, and take time out of my day to make these videos for you guys so I can show you guys the truth about juicing and juicers. So thank you so much. So if you guys enjoy this episode of the review of the Omega time-saving cold press batch juicer, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with other people that are considering the time-saving batch juicer by Omega. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes. I'll come in 5 some days. You don't know what new juicers I'll be unboxing, reviewing, or comparing, or what new juicing knowledge bombs I'll be dropping on you to enhance your life and get your health on track. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. Also be sure to check my past episodes. The past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 900 episodes at this time, where I review all the different major brand juicers so you can find the best one for you. Links down below some of my favorite videos I made in the past about the Hurom H70, where I unbox it, juice greens, juice pineapple, juice celery, juice all kinds of things in it, and show you guys how it does when juicing all of them. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.